What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deco-Crete TV. My name's Jeff, and on today's episode, we're going to show you guys how to build a template for a concrete countertop. So stay tuned and you're going to learn all about it. So if we're gonna actually cast a concrete countertop to go right back into this area right here, it's gonna be really important that we make a very precise template for this. Anytime we're on top of cabinets, and especially when we have corners like this is just so important. Trying to cast or build a mold to cast a countertop that's gonna fit in here, if I try to do that just by pulling some measurements, I can tell you that is not gonna work very well for me. It's kind of like a shot in the dark whether that's gonna actually fit or not. So just take the extra time in the beginning to build this template very precisely. That way I know it'll slide right in at installation time. So I just kind of wanted to go over a few tools we're gonna need for this project. And again, you know, any concrete countertop project like this template process is always gonna be the first step. So I just have this little box put together. That way, you know, again, we're in somebody's kitchen when we're doing this and we wanna, you know, make the least mess possible. We wanna have everything with us. And so the first thing is some squares. I like to have plastic squares, so if you end up dropping one, it's not digging up the customer's floor. One of the really important things we're gonna need is gonna be a glue gun. And this is how we're gonna actually fasten our template together. This here is also pretty important, is a big snips like this. And I like this one because it'll actually cut through our template material. That way I don't need to bring any saw or anything into the kitchen here, and I can make as little mess as possible. So one of them snips, you know, a couple clamps like this can come in really handy if you need to, you know, hold something for a second till the glue dries. So those are really good to have. Tape measure, again, we're not really gonna need the tape measure much today, but always something we're gonna have with us. And then a Sharpie. Honestly, during this process, we're gonna need to take some notes. We're gonna, you know, mark some points in the template. And so we're really gonna need something like this. Now the material we're gonna be using is just this, you know, 1/4 inch Luan. It's, you know, nice, lightweight, cheap stuff to use. And I like to rip this in 2.5 inch strips for only one reason, because now I can cut through it really nice with these snips here. Now, there's different options there. You can buy this in 4x8 sheets, rip it to whatever width that you want. Or if you're like me, I just call the local lumberyard and tell them to go ahead and rip a whole sheet. That way we don't have to worry about that part, and we got plenty of it. So that's pretty much all we're gonna need. We're gonna plug in our glue gun and get started. So I like to always start out by putting my back piece on first. So all I'm gonna do, take a measurement, and I'm gonna pre-cut this piece. Now again, we're gonna have pieces button up on the sides, so it doesn't need to be precise at this point. In fact, I'm gonna make it a little bit short just so I don't have to fight it. 65.5. And we know we needed 65.5. And again, I'm not that worried about a square cut right now. That's gonna come later. Now, one thing to always watch out for, and you guys might not be able to see this in this video, but this piece of Luan is actually straight, but you can see there's a little gap here. So that means that my back wall actually has a little bit of a bow to it. Now I can treat this a couple different ways. Honestly, if this is getting a backsplash on here, that little gap, not gonna bother us at all. And that's gonna be the case here, so we're not gonna worry about it. But if I wasn't gonna put a backsplash on there, or it was gonna be really thin, and I really wanna follow the contour of this wall, after this whole thing is built, I can go ahead and put a cross piece on there, push that back and glue it. And that's the nice thing about this Luan, is it does have a little bit of flex to it, so you can make some adjustments. Now this time, I do want to make a nice square cut because this is going to be my front edge. I can place that in there. Now this countertop is a little bit different because we have these, we got this little contour here. You know, a normal countertop, it's usually nice and straight along that edge. So we're gonna have to spend a little bit extra time on this one because I'm gonna need to actually make some angle pieces right here. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and again, I've got my nice corner there, so this one doesn't even have to be perfect. I'm gonna set it right there, and I'm just gonna come past a little bit so I got plenty of room. So now that we got all our pieces cut, we're ready to go ahead and start gluing them back together. And you know, one thing to keep in mind is the only thing we're ever gonna use is the outside edge of this template. So all this stuff here that's kind of hanging out in the middle here, we're not even gonna worry about that because all we're looking is to get the perimeter. Now, one last thing to keep in mind here is, again, we're in a completely boxed in area. And if I make this thing to fit exactly perfect, man, it's gonna be really tough to slide it back in here and not end up, you know, damaging some of the cabinets around here. So what I like to do in this case is I like to just bring everything in just a little bit, gives myself, you know, about an 1/8 inch along those edges, so I got plenty of room to slide this guy in place, and I'm not fighting it during the install time. And aside from that, we're ready to go ahead and start gluing. Now that's pretty much it. I got my entire shape put together. I got my little contour the way I want it. The only thing I can see here, you know, I'm gonna just end up, when we get to the shop, I'll end up knocking that little corner off right there, just because it's actually sticking out too far. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mark it. That way I remember to cut that off later. So I know I'm good to go. One last thing I'm gonna do before I actually pull this thing out is I'm just gonna put 2 cross sections right here just to stabilize everything. That way I know that I'm gonna get this thing back to the shop in one piece. That's all good to go. I got my shape, I got some cross pieces in here. Now my template is nice and secure. Now before I pull this thing out, this is where I wanna make all my final notes. And again, you know, we don't have anything like that in this piece, but if I have a sink here, I'm marking where my sink's at. Maybe there's a window and I'm marking right in the center of the window, just so I know I can get everything really nice and centered back up. Other things that are important might be finished edges. You know, if I had some sort of a profile on this edge, I would really do myself a disservice if I used that profile the entire way around. So I would want to mark finished edges. But number one, more than anything, the biggest note to make on this countertop is the top. And so I always make sure that I mark that's the top. And when I flip it over, I'm gonna mark the bottom. And honestly, one of the first jobs that we made a lot of templates for, it was literally 13 individual pieces. Went in there, made all those templates, went back to the shop, poured every single one of them, only to find out that I never flipped a single template over, and I made every single piece backwards. And luckily, we were able to, they were full thickness concrete, we were able to flip them over, refinish the other sides, but we learned a valuable lesson that day to just always remember that we're building this thing right side up, we're pouring it upside down, so always make sure you flip that guy over. So now that we have all that, you know, my last thing that I'm looking for here is I'm gonna actually pull this thing out just like it was when I was putting it in there. So again, I need to make sure this thing's gonna slide back in nice and easy, so I'm gonna pick this up. And I'm not gonna allow it to bend or as little as possible, because if I just kind of fold these ends up so I can get it out real nice and easy, well, I'm not gonna be able to do that with my concrete countertop. So I like to grab this and pull it out just like it was if I was sliding my new countertop in. So now I can see that I've got this thing made exactly perfect, and I know as long as I form right to it, we're gonna be good to go. Other thing to keep in mind when you're building templates like this, if you're doing a large area, is when you take these things out the doorway. Again, don't try to bend them around doorways, because if you can't get your template out the way you're gonna carry your countertop in there, you're gonna run into the same thing when you go back to install. Well guys, that's pretty much it for the templating process. Now all we gotta do, take it back to the shop and start building the mold. For a tutorial video on how to build that mold, please check out our video right here. If you guys are looking for any more information on decorative concrete and concrete countertops, please check out our website at deco-cretesupply.com. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget about that bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Please leave us a comment right below if you have any of your own suggestions to add to this process, or if you have any questions. So from all of us here at Deco-Crete TV, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.